Hello and welcome back to the never-ending Arc 4 of ReZero. Links in the description if you need them to remind yourself of what the fuck is happening. Last time Subaru failed the second trial, and now he is at yet another tea party. What the hell have you been plotting, Echidna? This is a quick turnaround from where he was like 2 minutes ago before he went into the graveyard. He went in thinking that he wanted Echidna's help, and now he is just pissed. Isn't that obvious? An evil scheme, of course. I am a witch. Why did you do something like that? Because it was the most effective method, that's why. If I had left things alone, your mind would have worn away to nothing in the trial. Subaru goes through a lot of mental torture throughout the entire series. He has a crazy amount of mental fortitude, all things considered. I don't know how long the trial would have lasted, but it's very possible that he just sits there on replay without being able to walk away or give an answer, and until his mind just breaks, kind of like what happened with Amelia. So using Carmilla here probably was the best option, or it may have been the best option. But in using the fake Rem, Echidna really pissed off Subaru. Not enough that he is going to blow up like he has in the past, but it is enough that he is going to be slow to trust her from now on. I can't make excuses for the fact that I wounded your heart as a result. I've resigned myself to accept your rage. Subaru calms down and sits in his normal seat. Just in case this needs to be pointed out, Subaru refuses to drink the tea. Allow me to explain the trial. Just like the first one, the second trial puts you in a world recreated from your memories. It is a thorough, well-created unreality. However, your return by death is the Witch of Envy's authority. Basically, only she knows whether the things you saw in your second trial happened in some reality. She says that she doesn't know Envy's authority or how it works, and I question that. Like I said last time, though, it's possible that alternate universes exist and that the worlds continue on after Subaru dies. But as she says now, we know that what we saw in the trials didn't actually happen. Well, probably. We don't. It is possible, but probably not. Maybe. In typical fashion, Subaru in the web novels is smarter and is able to figure out how the trials work, but he's not sure if the alternate universes are actually real and do exist. Echidna then explains that part of it. Also, only in the web novel, this is when Echidna explains what happened in the last loop when Envy showed up in Sanctuary. And in case you missed the last theory video that I made, Echidna says that Envy possessed Amelia. That and Envy's power was nowhere near what it used to be because she is still sealed. Amelia was picked because Envy was jealous. It's the same joke that I made in that video. Basically, Amelia was getting all of Subaru's attention, so Envy got jealous of that, and she took over her body. I think it probably was because she was there and was the closest thing that she could possess, but that is just my guess, and that's also just Echidna's guess. Instead of counting the many people you may have failed to save, you should focus on counting the many people you have saved. Idealistic cliches like that don't help. I know that you have given all your strength, physically and mentally, to survive thus far. Not a single thing you've experienced on your way to this point has been a waste. You have arrived at this moment by doing everything within your power, at the risk of your own life. That's something you should be proud of. Yeah, I 100% agree with this. Subaru is not Reinhardt. He's just doing the best that he can. Well, most of the time, he is doing the best that he can. But he still blames himself for not being able to do more. It's cut down in the anime, but the second trial really got to Subaru. Echidna is trying to cheer him up here, and eventually Subaru does come around, but it takes a lot more convincing in the novels. Why do you keep trying to help me like this? Would you be willing to form a contract with me, Subaru? Contract? What happens if I do? It's very simple. From now on, whenever you run into an obstacle you can't overcome, I will give you my support. I'm confident in the amount of knowledge I have. I should be able to come up with a way for you to deal with any problem. Above all, I can share in your return by death ability. As we have seen from previous envy temper tantrums, Subaru is not going to be able to talk about return by death without consequences. Echidna may know about it, but that doesn't give Subaru a free pass. What does that mean? You're actually giving me the selling points of making a contract with you? I think it only makes sense to explain the merits of such an act. All the better for me if it makes you lean towards agreeing to it at all. It's all calculated. I had to leave this in because I think it's super important. It's all calculated. Have I mentioned that I'm super suspicious of Echidna? That might not be such a bad idea. Meaning, I mean, if you absolutely insist, I wouldn't mind entering into a contract. Anyway, how would we form this contract? To establish a formal contract, you and I need to form a bond between our souls. First, we raise our palms to each other, like this. Subaru starts to reach out his hand when an explosion interrupts them. I'm gonna have to put a stop to that contract. So you're after him too. I suppose you're jealous. Stop teasing me. I'm outraged. I'm indignant. I'm absolutely boiling with anger. How is she even here? Don't you have to swap places with the other witches to let them appear? The web novel is the only version that's shown them all together, and even then Subaru wasn't there. So we knew that they could all show up at the same time, but Subaru didn't. Echidna does kind of go out of her way to make it seem like that was the case. During the last tea party, she kept saying things like she was tagging in and out with the other witches. So I can understand why Subaru thought that was the case. That's a lie. She's a bad-natured jerk who plays mean tricks like that for no reason. Well, I didn't want to just keep popping witches into existence and let one of them take you from me. This is something that's stated in the novels a few times. Echidna keeps saying that the other witches could try to steal him from her. In fact, the other witches could just try to kill Echidna, and then they would all die as the dream world fades. Something every single one of them is perfectly okay with. And not to say that they are wanting to die, they are just okay with dying again. Like they would rather die being themselves rather than change anything that they think is even remotely important. Luckily, Subaru is not that important to them. Echidna holds the record amongst the witches for the most contracts with the most people, and not all of the contracts were good for the other person. And that's according to Echidna herself. Stop being taken in so easily by all of Echidna's smooth talking. It pisses me off. Also, she hasn't even told you the parts of the contract that would be bad for you. Huh? She's talking about your payment for contracting with me. I think calling it a bad thing is a bit of an exaggeration, though. What is it you want from me, then? It's very simple. Everything you feel, everything you think, everything that remains in your heart, the future as you know it, anything you accomplish, all the potential within you, all the fruits of the unknown that is born from your very existence. I want to taste all of it. That's all true, but don't assume that she just told you everything. Echidna isn't lying, but there's a lot she's hiding from you. We are starting to learn about Echidna's actual personality, and I think saying hiding a lot is underselling it. There are theories that she knew? Gold knew. That she knew a lot of the future events that are happening for the current story way back before she died. Man, that is confusing to say. I can't talk a whole lot about it because it involves stuff for future arcs, but for now, just keep in mind that Echidna likes to speak in half-truths. A lot like how Roswell does, which isn't all that surprising now that I think about it. Carmilla is 100% helping out Subaru because she's getting back at Echidna lying to her. She says in the novels that she doesn't even like Subaru. This is just 100% revenge. Don't bother listening to these two, Subaru. Once you have formed a contract with me, I will, without fail, guide you into a future you desire. That wouldn't be a promise you always proceed with in the end, would it? And who are you? Witch of Sloth, segment. I'm only here as a watchdog to preserve the fairness of this place, but I will fulfill my obligation to her. I have no idea who her would be in this instance. My guess is that she's talking about Echidna, but it's not very clear, and it's only in the anime. I think I've said this before, but the light novel repeats it here. Segment could kill all of the other witches at the same time, except for Satella, and she could do that in like under a minute. So it makes sense that she is the watchdog for this little tea party. Oh, Boru, you're here. Is everyone here now? That's unusual. It's been a long time since we had a tea party. You should have invited me too. Why do you guys keep appearing one after the other? What do you want from me? I believe I told you already. It's a promise that's always preceded by, in the end. Echidna, you said you'd guide me to the best possible future, didn't you? And with your help, would I arrive at the best possible future by following the best possible path? Why aren't you saying anything? For the purpose of attaining the future you desire, you must accept any sacrifices made along the way. Is that not the resolve you made, Subaru? Oh, wait. No, I will not wait. You are the one who needs to understand better. Just think about it. The return by death authority you possess is a tremendous thing. You do not fully understand how truly useful it is. Echidna then spends far too much time getting off on using return by death to learn things. I am not about to repeat that entire speech, okay? Just go watch it yourself. I mean, seriously, it is just like 4 or 5 pages of nothing but text. There is no break, there is no paragraphs. It is just a long ass speech. Look at this shit. Is there something about the greed witch factor that just makes a person not know how to shut the fuck up? Wait, hold on. Yeah, that's what I thought. My camera is still flipped. I actually completely forgot about that. I noticed that a long time ago and apparently did not fix it. So we'll say next video. I'm not about to re-record all of this. So next video, I will be flipped to be correct. So essentially, Echidna wants Subaru to use Return by Death so that she can see all of the outcomes, learn the best solution, and then decide the best way to continue on. It's not a bad plan, and it is kind of what Subaru was going to do anyway, but it does involve Subaru dying a lot. And this may have worked on Subaru if he hadn't just gone through the second trial. That trial has made him change his way of thinking of return by death. And Akina didn't help with that when she says the shit that he saw may or may not be reality. Echidna, you're going to use me? I am, and you can do the same to me. That's what this contract is for. It's not as if I didn't consider your intentions might not be 100% good, but that's just way beyond the pale. I don't quite understand what you find so problematic. Everything about your attitude is so infantile and shallow. It's completely superficial. Echidna, you're incapable of understanding how anyone else feels. This is one of those times you could get angry. I see. You have taught me much. When we next have a chance, I will do just that. But first, why not have a seat? I'd like to discuss the contract a bit more. I just remembered. There's one thing I wanted to ask you when I saw you again. You know Beatrice, don't you? Yes, I do. I was deeply involved in her birth, after all. Beatrice has lived her life under a contract forcing her to wait for that person. I believe that contract was with you. True. Then who is that person? How can I set her free? Good question. Whoever could it be? What? You're saying you don't even know who Beatrice is waiting for? I really don't. You've made quite a misunderstanding. By making her promise to wait for that person to come to her, I want to find out who she will choose to be that person. Of course, her staying there for 400 years without choosing anyone is one result of that. Her inability to choose anyone so easily all this time, and wanting to die as she agonized over whether to keep upholding the contract or not, are also a result of that. And how do you feel about that? I think it's wonderful. Echidna, you're an unfathomable monster beyond all comprehension. I mean, I don't know about beyond comprehension. Echidna wants to learn above everything else. I mean, it's not a great trait to have for someone like her and some of the things that she wants to do, but it's not beyond comprehension. Subaru is finally starting to realize who Echidna is. She is the embodiment of the thirst for knowledge. It doesn't matter what happens, it doesn't matter who gets hurt. All that matters is what can be learned. And I actually think that's why Echidna using the Book of Wisdom earlier was cut from the light novel and the anime. She wants to learn, but she doesn't want to use the book to do so. She would much rather learn the hard way, or the fun way is probably how she would view it. So I don't think that she actually uses the book all that often. I won't take your hand. I know whose hand I want to take. There's a girl who's been tied down by the words you spoke out of pure curiosity, without malice. I'm going to take her hand. Subaru has chosen Beatrice over Echidna, which is probably a better choice for him in the long run. If you're curious about what would happen if he had chosen Echidna instead, that is the Greed If story. I'll eventually end up making a video on that, but it's going to be a long time. I think I may be stuck making Arc 4 videos for the rest of my life. The witches suddenly get tense. She's here. No, I have nothing to do with this. A really troublesome girl just showed up at a troublesome time to start some trouble. Oh, I'm feeling very, very hungry. Hey, it's Tella. Long time no see. You made it past all those barriers to enter the Castle of Dreams? Talk about rude. There's two very important things left out of the anime, and I guess it's going to be easier for me to quote the light novel. But I am changing jealousy to envy because I like that name better. To put it simply, the world remembered Satella as the Witch of Envy. However, what was not recorded in history was that Satella had a type of personality disorder. Perhaps it would be clearer to say that she absorbed a factor that was incompatible with her, causing a mental abnormality that ultimately created the witch's personality within Satella. Not that I personally have any inclination to distinguish between the two. Up until this point, I have tried to be careful about which name I use, either Satella or Envy. I've tried to match the name to the personality of the situation, basically. Hopefully I have been somewhat correct so far, but I'm not sure on any of them, so don't take it too serious. So yeah, incompatible witch factors can cause mental issues, and this is something that will come back up in future arcs and later on in this arc. An idea that I think holds a lot of water is the theory that Envy is all about overwhelming strength. So whenever we see her go on big rampages, that is probably Envy. Satella is more about skill and finesse. So she would be the one we see stopping time and torturing Subaru's heart whenever he talks about return by death. Maybe. If we look at the last time that Envy showed up at Sanctuary, she was trying to get into the dream world, to the Tea Party, in order to punish Subaru for breaking the taboo. But she couldn't get past the barriers, regardless of how much she banged on the door. And when that didn't work, she just went outside and went on her rampage. This time, it's Satella, who is able to use her skills to get past the barrier instead of trying to force them open. And let me reiterate again, this is all theory. None of this has been confirmed or anything, but it does make a lot of sense. The witches hate Envy, but they do like Satella, except for Echidna. She's just a hater. So as soon as they confirm that this is probably Satella and not Envy, they're okay with just sitting back and letting this conversation happen. In the web novel, Minerva tries to punch Satella to figure out whether it is Envy or not, which doesn't really matter a whole lot because we already know Minerva's whole thing is that she punches people to heal them. So it's not like it was going to do anything to Satella anyway. It's more of the fact that Minerva didn't get absorbed at all kind of tells us that this is Satella and not Envy. Everything comes down to whether it's Tella or Envy who came. If we don't know that, there's nothing Daphne and the others can do. A candidate to be a sage should know that much. Let him be, Daphne. He doesn't know about any of that yet. This is the first time that it's mentioned that Subaru is a sage candidate, and we don't really get a whole lot of info on it right now, so I'm gonna hold off on explaining anything. Apparently, Satella was the one who killed all of the other witches and consumed a huge chunk of the world, not Envy. That's all we really get right now. No real details. This kind of puts a damper on what I said earlier about Envy being the one about overwhelming strength. And this also doesn't match up with other details that we get about the witch's deaths. It seems to be that there's two different versions of how the witches died. So this is going to be something that I'm going to have to keep up with the rest of the time as we learn more. In the web novel, Minerva says that she and Typhon were Satella's closest friends. At least they were before she killed them. In the novel, Subaru is having mixed feelings when he sees Satella. On one hand, he is absolutely terrified. He knows what she can do and what she has done to him. So it's very possible that she does some of that to him right now. On the other hand, he has feelings of attachment to her. Like he feels relieved to see her. But he has no idea where these feelings are coming from. They're just mixed in with his overwhelming fear of her. So this is playing into his confusion for this whole situation. He can't see Satella's face, and Minerva says that this is a subconscious block. He's not seeing her because he doesn't want to see her. And in the loop that Envy attacks Sanctuary, the novels made it seem like the shadows were actually blocking her face. I'm not sure if this is different or if he was subconsciously blocking it back then too. That's not the way that it seemed to me back when I was reading that loop, but I also can't say that I'm sure either way. Anyway, there's enough that's going to happen after this in the tea party, so I'm just going to go ahead and stop the video here. Next time we will see what Satella wants and if she goes on to murder everybody. See ya.